Let's talk about a productivity problem, specifically about follow through. So the ability to set a goal and then stick with it until you deliver something, until you ship something. This is something that a lot of people struggle with, can be very difficult. And the comments in one of my previous videos really inspired me to talk about this because some really good points were made there. I think that in many ways our culture and the stories we like to tell about success are cheating us out of the ability to see things through and reach our goals. Hey, I'm Shane Malach from activegrowth.com, and I want to use the example of a product launch I just finished for my Focus and Action productivity course to contrast what real success looks like 99.9% of the time versus what we expect success to look like. So I think when we read about success stories and the kind of success stories we like to tell in our culture are always about the extreme outlier, the extreme unexpected breakout success. So it'll be like the story of the teen who teaches herself how to program apps and creates a simple little game and then just becomes a millionaire overnight, right? Or it's the story of someone who has some maybe really frustrating experience, writes like an angry blog post about it, and it just blows up, and before you know it, it's being syndicated everywhere, and they get invited to Ellen and Oprah, and they get a book deal, and it's just this huge, they make a movie out of it, right? And it's this thing where a single moment, that's the story we love, right? A single moment turns into this massive breakout success. We love the story of basically the rising star, right? Just skyrocketing success. And of course, that's the most interesting story to tell. It kind of makes sense, right? Out of all the success stories that you find, well, the outliers, the most extreme, most unbelievable ones, of course, those are the ones that get the most coverage and that we keep hearing about. But I think this causes a real problem because it makes us hold out hope that this can happen to us. And if we start working on a project and we don't get this like huge result right away, we feel like, well, I must be doing it wrong, because my idea of success is this kind of instant explosion of success. Now, like I've talked about in previous videos, there's also this aspect that we are basically being trained to want and expect instant gratification, right? Because like all of our digital environment works like that. It's like, oh, push the button and get this little dopamine hit, right? This little bit of gratification right away. So the combination of that, the combination of being used to instant gratification and all these stories leads us to have a totally skewed and warped picture of what success ought to look like. And one of the commenters put this really well, where it's like this problem of follow through being that when you come up with a new idea, when you develop a new idea, it's very exciting. And that once that early phase of putting together an idea, of putting together a plan, once that's done, after that, it's just not that interesting anymore, right? You get kind of bored with it, and it becomes difficult to keep going, like to go through that kind of that grind of just the daily stuff you have to do to turn an idea into reality. It's just not that exciting anymore. And so you move on to the next new thing because that's exciting again. This kind of skewed expectation makes it much more difficult to actually see something through. And I wonder if that would change if we had more realistic stories of what it means to achieve success. And I want to present just a very brief look at this latest product launch I just finished as an example of that. Because, okay, maybe you're wondering, was this a successful product launch? And the answer is yes, it was. But you won't read about it in like Forbes magazine or anything like that anytime soon, because there was nothing unusual or overly exciting about it. So this product launch was more successful than any previous information product launch I have done, right? And the last one is many years ago. But I've launched many information products over time, and this one was the most sales, the most revenue generated in a pre-launch period, or in a launch period even, that I've ever had. But not by a huge, not 1,000 times more. And that's the thing, right? This was successful, but it wasn't like a multi-million-dollar launch or anything like that. Also, and I think this is also important, if you look at all the stuff I did for this launch, like nothing crazy happened, right? None of my videos or none of my posts I wrote about this went viral. There was no crazy snowball effect of traffic and sales. There was basically nothing unexpected. In other words, the success that I've had with this launch is entirely proportional to the input. So if you look at what happened since the last information product I launched, why is this one more successful? Well, I've spent all these years building an audience. I've spent all these years honing my skills, learning how to create better content, learning how to communicate better, building marketing skills, and so on. And if you look at what I did in creating the sales message and the sales page for this and putting together the offer and the videos I created and the emails I wrote and so on, you can see that, oh yeah, this was way better than last time I did it. And it was to a larger audience because I built this audience over time. And so, yeah, it makes sense. Like the result is entirely proportional to the work that I've put in. And by the way, in case you're not familiar with this, I'm not going to share exact numbers here because I just don't like doing that. And I don't like the kind of thing where someone brags with, oh, I made this many dollars or whatever, right? So I'm not going to share exact numbers, but let me put it like this, because to me, I had a look at these numbers and I was like, there's something amazing here. This launch went well enough that if this was the only thing I did, right? If you ignore everything else, if this was my sole business, I could make a living doing just this. So I could make a living launching 1 or 2 products like this per year, probably one, right? I could launch 1 product like this per year. And think about what that would mean. I could make a living creating content about topics I care about, that I'm passionate about, teaching people, so creating an online course that teaches people about that topic. And I could launch 1 product per year and make a living that allows me to live almost anywhere in the world, not the most expensive places in the world, right? It's not that much money, but with this money, I could have a location-independent lifestyle where I can live pretty much wherever I want. I can be my own boss, I can have my own schedule, and I can do something I really love. And again, this is basically unexciting because we're nowhere near millions. This is not $1 million a year business or anything like that, right? But you don't need that kind of money. And this is the crazy thing, right? I could do this, and this would be, and I would enjoy a kind of freedom that kings of past didn't have, right? And what if that took several years of work to reach? Because the first time you launch a product, the first time when you start building an audience, when you start working on products and so on, you're not going to have this level of success, probably. But what if it did? What if it did take several years of kind of hard work, maybe as a side hustle, to get to the point where I can do this? To me, that would be amazing. That's totally worth it. And I think that's kind of the frame of mind that makes it easier to follow through, right? Whereas this kind of humble, only compared to the crazy stories, right? But this kind of humble level of success, to me, is totally worth grinding through a couple of difficult years. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this, right? Because I'm wondering, to me, it's like obvious that this is how I think about this. This kind of, like I said, humble, even though I can't, it seems like the wrong expression, but compared to crazy $1 million stories, right? This kind of humble level of success to me is totally worth investing several years in. And I wonder if that has affected my ability to follow through, because I don't have skewed expectations. And I'm totally okay with the expectations that are in proportion to the work I've put in and the level of skill I've acquired. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about this. It seems to me that maybe there's a really important message in here and I'm starting to develop it. So let me know. This whole topic was inspired by comments. So let's keep the discussion going. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this and your experience on this. So leave a comment below. And once again, thank you for watching and indulging me in my sometimes rambly updates and thoughts about what it means to be productive and really good at follow-through.